Hey guys, how are you going? I hope you're all doing well and welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're going to be discussing weight loss plateaus, why they happen and what you should do when inevitably they do happen. Now, just in case you're new here and you haven't seen my face before, welcome. My name is Lucy and several years ago, I went through a weight loss journey myself. So I've experienced all the things that you guys probably experienced as well. So without further ado, let's head on into the video. Okay, so firstly, let's discuss what a weight loss plateau really is. So you'll hear this term thrown around a lot, and a lot of people will experience this throughout a weight loss or fitness journey. But a weight loss plateau is basically when you see a slowdown or a complete stop in the progress that you have previously been seeing. So you get to a point where you're not really changing. So I feel like the term plateau or the concept of a plateau really scares a lot of people, but in truth it's completely normal, and that's because our bodies are extremely smart and efficient at adapting to what we do to them. So very simply, because we're going to go into a little bit more detail later on in the video, but if you enter a weight loss journey, you are going to be putting yourself in a caloric deficit. So you're going to be consuming less calories than your body is burning. Now, initially when you start out, your body's going to require a certain amount of calories per day, and you're going to be eating less than that. Let's say, for example, your requirement's 2,000 and you're going to be eating 1,700. Now, as your journey moves on and you lose weight, your body's requirements for energy is actually going to reduce along with your weight loss. Eventually, it will hit 1,700, for example, and you'll no longer be in a caloric deficit. You'll actually be in a maintenance phase. So while it may seem scary and a bit daunting to hit a plateau, actually, it's a sign that we're making progress, and a good thing, really. And also, it's very normal. It's what we would expect to happen. So one of the first things to think about is it really a plateau, or are we just not giving it enough time? It's very much in our human nature to ignore the rational logic and really go with our emotions. And with weight loss, I see it time and time again that you expect maybe more than we should. You always hear this saying of, it doesn't happen overnight, you didn't gain the weight overnight, so you're not going to lose it overnight. You know, it takes years and years to get to a particular position where you're overweight or obese. So it's not going to happen in a couple of weeks or a couple of months. I think the problem comes when often if we embark on a weight loss journey, we tend to see results quite quickly. The first week might be fantastic because it's like a sudden kick to the system, and it's noticing all this change. But then over time, it starts to slow down as our body adapts. And that's an amazing thing. Like, we really should appreciate just how phenomenal our bodies are at adapting and looking after us. But that being said, it can be really off-putting if you initially see some progress and then suddenly it stops. Consistency really is key with weight loss, and if you've just started out in your weight loss journey, then I would suggest that you've probably not really hit a plateau, but it's just that your body's going through an adjustment phase. However, if you're months along into it and you've been seeing a sort of relative downward trend, you're always going to see ups and downs, but a relative downward trend in your weight, for example, then potentially you have hit that maintenance or plateau phase. Okay, so if you're confident that you are in a weight loss plateau or maintenance phase, there is a few things kind of circling around energy expenditure that we can play with to try and get our bodies back into making progress again. So because what we're going to be discussing kind of relies on the principles of energy balance and also nutritional principles, if you don't really have a very clear understanding of those, it would probably be a good idea just to go and have a recap of that. I'll pop a video up here that I have made recently about counting calories, and that explains to you how your body burns calories, where that's coming from, and it will give you a much better understanding of kind of what I'm talking about in this video. So maybe pause this video, check that one out and come back to this one. Otherwise, we're going to head straight into it, and we're going to be talking about calorie complacency. So as I briefly mentioned in the beginning, as you start to lose weight, your total daily energy expenditure is also going to decrease along with it. I like to keep things as simple as possible here, so we're just going to term this adaptation, and it's actually a fantastic thing. It's our body's way of defending us against starving to death. But what it means is that you'll get to a point where the calories that you were consuming to be in a calorie deficit are no longer a deficit and actually what your body is requiring to live throughout the day, therefore putting you at maintenance. And simply that just means that you need to reassess and drop your calories a little bit further. I know that kind of sucks because if you're a food lover like me, it means you get to eat less and less and less, but you will get to a point where you'll be happy with where you are at and you're going to go back up to maintenance. So don't stress too much. So maybe this is happening to you. If you've been losing weight and potentially lost maybe 5 to 10 kilos, what's probably happened is you've now hit your maintenance calories and you just need to recalculate your TDEE and just create a new calorie deficit from that. The other thing that commonly happens regarding calories is that we underestimate how many calories that we're consuming and we overestimate how many calories we're burning through exercise. Now, this is not something that we do on purpose. It's very, very much a subconscious thing. We don't realize we're doing it. I would probably do this. I say this all the time. If I was to go and track what I eat in a day in my mind and then physically track it as well, what number I'm coming up with would probably be a lot lower than the actual number I am consuming. Now, often when people start out eating in a calorie deficit, they're really, really strict or they're really on it and they're very aware of how much they're consuming. But over time, it starts to suddenly creep up. There's half a biscuit here, there's a box of crackers there, maybe a couple of scoops of ice cream here, 2 extra bowls of cereal here. But it all adds up and essentially you'll end up being in a place where you're eating more calories than you are actually thinking you are. We're going to call this calorie complacency. And we all know that I say that complacency is a killer, just in anything, not just in weight loss or fitness. Complacency in relationships, in work, it's a killer. So try not to become complacent, although accept that it is usually a normal part of the process and it's just identifying that you're doing it and nipping it in the bud. On the flip side of underestimating how many calories you're consuming, we often overestimate how many calories we're burning through exercise. So this is just one of the really common reasons that we see a sort of long-lasting plateau or even no progress to begin with. So to check if this is what's causing your plateau, you can just recalculate your new TDEE or your total daily energy expenditure, then calculate your deficit from there. Again, if you need to check that out, it's in my other video. And then if that's still good and you feel like you are eating to that deficit, it might be this calorie complacency. So maybe just track for a week or 2 to make sure that you're still on the mark with your calories, and also consider if you're eating back exercise calories or maybe overestimating how many calories you're burning through exercise. Okay, so next we're going to talk about exercise on its own. Now, if you've been losing weight, the most important factor is going to be being in a nutritional calorie deficit, eating less calories than your body's burning per day. However, exercise is also a fantastic tool to aid that and also to keep you motivated, plus all the health benefits and enjoyment that comes from exercise as well. So you may have started your weight loss journey with no exercise, or potentially you weren't able to exercise for some reason. However, if you've got to a point where you've reached a plateau and you're able to increase your activity levels, then that could be a really fantastic way of just kicking your body into gear and starting to see progress again. And that's just playing into the whole energy balance thing. So we're just expending more energy, burning more calories, which is going to help create more of a deficit. Now, the type of exercise that you do can have an impact as well. And I know that I always tell you just to go and do a form of exercise that you enjoy, and that is still true. However, like I mentioned, our bodies are fantastic at adapting to what stimulus we give them, and therefore it gets to a point after a while that your body's not really challenged. So it could be that you just need to increase the intensity of what we've been doing, or you might just want to try a different form of training just to give your body that shock and to give it a different stimulus to work towards. There is no right or wrong. I'm going to say it again, there is no right or wrong. However, resistance training can be fantastic to incorporate if you haven't already incorporated it. Now, when I say resistance training, what we mean is training with weight. And that could be your body weight, it could be free weights, or it could be really heavy lifting as well. If you're just starting out, body weight is a fantastic way of getting resistance training in. And as you guys know, I'm a massive fan of calisthenics and body weight training. It worked for me. I really enjoyed it. The reason resistance training is so beneficial is because, like for like, it burns calories really well. To get stronger through resistance training, your body needs to repair itself, which is going to require energy. So you continue to burn energy even after your workout has completed. And not only that, but as you start to increase the muscle mass in your body through training, your BMR is actually going to increase, which is your basal metabolic rate. Again, if you're not sure what I'm talking about, go check out that video. But if your basal metabolic rate is increasing, it also means that your total daily energy expenditure is increasing, meaning that you're in a greater deficit. Not only that, but it feels pretty good to feel kind of strong. Now, you don't have to do resistance training. That's just one example, and it does have multiple benefits. However, there's loads of other things you can do. And one massive thing that I always talk about is increasing your NEAT, or your non-exercise activity thermogenesis. Very, very fancy word for just saying general activity throughout the day. me standing here, moving my arms about, cooking my dinner, walking from my car to my garage, all these little movements, that actually contributes to quite a large amount of calories that your body's burning throughout the day. So if you can increase the amount of NEAT that you're getting into your day, then this is going to go a long way into helping you create that deficit without really having to make too much effort. So like I say, it could be simply ditching the car to walk around to the corner shop. It could be parking further away in the parking lot. It could be deciding to clean your house instead of watching TV, although I'd probably still watch TV. But anyway, you get the idea. It's just making an effort to increase the amount of activity throughout your day. Again, all we're doing here is manipulating the energy balance equation. So it's calories in, calories out, whether we're burning those through exercise or consuming less, or our body's burning more for its body composition, or whatever it might be. All we're doing is manipulating these principles to find out what's going to work best for us. Okay, I'm trying not to get too technical or too in-depth here. However, we're going to talk about protein and fiber intake. So if you have been losing weight and you're in a plateau phase, you've recalculated your new total daily energy expenditure and therefore your caloric deficit, and you're confident that you're actually eating to your caloric deficit accurately, then potentially we could have a look at how much protein and fiber you're getting in your diet. Firstly, let's talk about protein. Now, the reason there's a bit of an emphasis on protein consumption is because not only is protein required to repair your muscles, which then, if they're bigger, in turn increase your total daily energy expenditure, but more importantly, they also have a higher thermic effect of food. Another term I'm throwing in here, but don't stress too much. All that means is that it requires more energy from your body to digest and utilize it in your diet. Simply put, an increase in protein consumption means an increase in energy expenditure. Additionally, protein is very satiating, aka it keeps you fuller for longer. So if you're in a position where potentially it's calorie complacency and you're getting to a point where you're actually quite hungry throughout the day, if you're not eating enough protein, potentially that could be contributing to why you're so hungry. Secondly, let's run over fiber. So firstly, fiber is very satiating again. So if you're consuming it, you're going to stay fuller for longer, and that means that you're less likely to be hungry and therefore less likely to potentially snack above your calories. And again, this could just be something that you're subconsciously doing and you're not aware of. There's a whole other host of benefits from adequate fiber intake, such as it helps your gut bacteria, and also it helps keep you regular, aka helps you poop more. So we're not going to go into too much detail. However, increasing your fiber intake might also be something that you could try just to see if it helps you. It's very easily done, just making sure you're getting a good variety of whole grains in there. So it could be just cereal in the morning, whole grain cereal, whole grain breads, it could be lentils, beans, pulses, all that exciting stuff, and a good variety of vegetables as well. You guys know me, I'm not going to mention any specific numbers to aim for. It's going to be different for everyone. So if you guys wanted to know the recommended daily intakes, you could head over to Google and search it on there. There'll be heaps of information. Otherwise, I just think it's just good to be aware of these things and to make sure you're making an effort to get protein and fiber into your diet. So that's pretty much everything that I wanted to cover. I will do a quick recap in a second. However, I just wanted to mention that it's not necessary that you do all of these things. These are just some suggestions as to what may be happening if you've reached either maintenance or a plateau phase in your weight loss. And I just wanted to help you with gaining the understanding of what's going on and how you can tinker with different factors to assess what's happening for you and work out what's going to work best for you in the future. There really is no right or wrong. I say this time and time again, but everyone is different, and what's going to work for you won't work for somebody else, and vice versa. What's really important to me is that you have a good understanding of the principles, because there is so much confusion and noise, but in essence, the principles of nutrition, exercise, calories, weight loss, weight gain, and maintenance are actually very simple and all interlinked as well. So once you understand those, you can go ahead and manipulate those to any way you want so you can achieve what your goals are, which obviously are going to change throughout your lifetime. So let's do a really quick recap. Firstly, plateaus are completely normal and not something to be scared of. It means that you're making progress and your body is adapting, which is exactly what it's designed to do. Secondly, assess whether you are indeed in a weight loss plateau. It might just be that you've started recently and that your body's just getting used to what you're doing. If it has been a while, then potentially you are in a maintenance phase, or we'll call it a plateau phase, and therefore there's a few different things that we can adjust which are going to be based around energy balance. And those are, firstly, making sure that you are indeed eating in a calorie deficit still. As you've lost weight, your TDEE will have dropped, and therefore your calorie deficit will have as well. So make sure that you are still eating in your calorie deficit. If you're confident that you are, then it could be a couple of different factors. The first one could be calorie complacency. So you could be consuming more calories than you actually think you are, completely subconsciously, or you could actually be expending less energy than you realize. Looking at exercise specifically, you could increase your general activity levels or your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, that NEAT that we were talking about, or you could change up the type of training or incorporate some resistance training perhaps. And finally, if you wish, you could have a look at your protein and fiber intake and just make sure you're making an effort to get those into every meal and to incorporate them into your diet. Alright guys, I'm going to leave it there. If you have any questions, you can drop them down below. Otherwise, you could head over to Instagram and chat to me over there. I love hearing from you guys. If I could just say one thing, it's just do what's right for you. Don't worry about what other people are doing. Just trust the process, trust that you're doing the right thing, stay consistent, and you will do amazing. I hope you guys have an amazing day, and I will see you in the next video.